Namaste and Pranam. I am here with a few topics in research methodology. So, I will be discussing a few topics on statistics. In today's session, I will be just giving a brief idea about the data and what it is. And it is one of the very important component in any study, in any research work, or if we are doing a PhD. The fundamental thing that we need to know is the statistics, and to get the idea of statistics we need to have data. So just to introduce with the concept of data, it is nothing but the information which help us to analyze the outcome or analyze the thing that is happening during the whole sequence or scenario. So the information gives a lot of understanding, and that information is nothing but the data that we do. And we in our daily life uh, try to do a lot of activities, and with those activities we generate a lot of information, and those informations can be used for different purposes. For example, we do some surveys, like we try to send our questionnaire of surveys. That is not very common to day-to-day life, but yes, that is one example. When surveys are there, we watch movies and we try to click each movie or watch movies at different genres. Similarly, we also do shopping, online shopping. We also do internet surfing, we browse different websites, we click at different points. So all these activities generates a lot of information, and through this information we can derive a lot of things. For example, through the Netflix, the type of movies that we watch, we can derive what kind of movies that we like: comedy, horror, romance, animation, any kind it could be. Similarly, there can be a lot of things in different information, and that help us to derive and understand. So data is very important to understand, and until unless we understand what kind of data it is, we will not be able to derive or will not be able to do the further steps. And if we get the wrong idea about data, we will end up with the wrong information and wrong analysis. So the information, if we have the wrong idea, the analysis will definitely will not be correct. It will again be a wrong information and wrong analysis. So yeah, let's get into today's idea so that I can give you a broader perspective on the data and how it is important in a study. So I will sharing my screen. I hope just give me a minute. So in this study that we are going to see, I will be sharing one of my study which I did a few years back, and the title of the study was exploring the relationship between Ayurgenomics and biopsychosocial symptoms in cancer care. So the study was done in a hospital. We have a hospital here in Pondicherry, Shri Balaji Vidyapith University. The hospital is Mahatma Gandhi Medical College, and under Institute of Saltogenesis and Complementary Medicine, we did a study on 60 cancer patients, and we try to observe different levels of the severity according to the constitution of the body type. And we used a few questionnaires, and we had also tried to understand through the questionnaires which actually tell the constitutions, the vata, pitta and kapha, which are dominant. So before going in that, so that is the base paper that I have taken to understand the data in biostatistics. And before getting into biostatistics, let us understand the difference between statistics and biostatistics. And the answer is in the term itself. When we talk about statistics, it basically is in general, we talk about the science of data. But when it comes about the biostatistics, it is generally related with the health related data. It will include the heart rate, the hospital related aspects. The variables will be very much related with the health care setups like the blood pressure, the pulse rate, the HRV, the respiration rate, the pulse rate. There can be a lot of things but related with the health related data. So that is why it is biostatistics, just in general. And that is why like we're going to understand the types of data in biostatistics. And here there are four components that we're going to see. One is observation, the variable, the value, and the decision. And here there are actually, we always need to understand the data in terms of the classifications, and that classification actually helps us to correct us and removes the confusion. And here we have tried to classify our data into two classifications or two aspects, I will say. One classification is kind of data where we will understand qualitative, which can be categorical, and quantitative, numerical. The second classification is the level of measurement: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. We are going to see all these in detail in upcoming slides. So continuous belongs under quantitative data. It is not one of four measurement levels. We'll see this also in upcoming slides. So this is the hierarchy that we can understand how the data can be divided. So throughout the lecture we are going to see this hierarchy, and data can be divided into two types: qualitative and quantitative. Quality, the qualities that it have, it features, the characteristics that it has, and quantitative, which is actually related with the numbers, the number or the volume, whatever is that the quantity will always give us a value. So data which is based on quality or features or characteristics, on the data which is based on some values. So under the qualitative data, we can see the nominal and ordinal data. Nominal, basically nominal is the name, which is also the categories, and ordinal is the orders, the ranking. They will have the name, but along with the name or the categories, they will also have some order. That is under the qualitative category. And the second type of data, quantitative data, is basically based on two levels: interval and ratio. And here we need to ask two very important questions, because quantitative data can be understood in two types. When we ask, is the number countable or measurable, the type of data becomes discrete or continuous. Discrete, which is whole number, and continuous, which can be any number which is in any range. So for example, for a discrete it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, like that. But for a continuous data, it should be, it can be anything like 1.2, 3.57, and like that. And similarly, the quantitative data can be understood in another aspect: does the number have a true zero or not? So here we get the idea of interval and ratio. We are going to see all these in upcoming slides. So I took the research paper that I did, and under that study I had the data that we get normally. If we see, so there are 60 patients. We had like 6 prakriti groups. In general, prakriti is divided into different categories on the basis of vata, pitta, and kapha. And on the level of dominance, how one prakriti is dominant over the other, there are some combinations of these prakriti. And according to a software called IUSoft, there are 10 categories on which these prakriti are being divided. And out of these 10 categories of prakriti, 6 were found to be in my study. And we also use RSCL domains. There is a questionnaire which actually helps to understand the impairment or the different kind of psychological, physiological, emotional deformity or impairment in the patients or care seeker, and how many times the data was collected at one. So in this study, only one time it was collected. It was observational, cross-sectional observational study. So cross-sectional observational study will have only one time of data collection. So here you can see the design is cross-sectional observational study. Predictor is the Deha Prakriti using IUSoft. The outcomes are understood with the questionnaire that we have, and the purpose is to explore symptom patterns across Prakriti groups. So we'll see about all these things in upcoming sessions that I will take, but here we are going to focus on the data that we have. So we have 60 patients, 6 Prakriti groups, 4 domains of the questionnaire, and the data was collected for one time. Now let us see the structure that we have in this research. So here the patient were given some ID, they have the age, the sex or gender, the type of cancer that they had, and the prakriti that were having, and different impairment aspects of the questionnaire. So physical impairment was 34.61 for patient 1, whose ID was P001, whose age is 52. The patient was a female who was having a breast cancer, and the prakriti kapha pitta. Kapha was the dominant and pitta was less dominant. It is called pradhana and anubandhi. So kapha pradhana pitta anubandhi prakriti patient has a physical RSCL of 34.61. So here what we do, observation, one patient, one column and one cell. So if you see one patient, their age, sex and prakriti variable, those are the variables, and the value that we get is 52 female and 34.61. So this is how we try to understand a data in any table. So the first division we try to understand with the qualitative. We saw the categories of the data, qualitative and quantitative. So let us divide this study in terms of qualitative data and quantitative data. So qualitative data, which is also called categorical data, has groups. So one was the group of the gender, the sex, male or female or the other. The type of cancer that they have Deha Prakriti, their occupation, the city, the place they were located. The quantitative data has numbers or measurements, the age, number of patients, the scores that the questionnaire has, and the dosha percentage. So the categories classify, numbers measure. Now let us come to the actual categories of the data. So we can see here that we have the nominal value. So nominal data is nothing but the names that we get, the names without order. So categories are different but not in higher level, lower levels. So we have the gender, the sex, the cancer type, city, occupation, Deha Prakriti. So these kind of nominal data which has names and they give us some idea about the data, not in terms of value or in the hierarchy, but they help us to understand the frequency or the percentage of the data that we have. And the best way to understand or represent a nominal data, it is through bar chart or a pie chart. Here I try to present a bar chart. So 45 number were female and 15 were male patients in this study. So this is how we can understand the nominal data in this study. Similarly, ordinal data is again the qualitative data but with the order. So, in different studies, we find like yes, the mild, moderate, or severe. This is in this study also it was like that. In some studies, you'll find good, very good, excellent. So these are the three categories. Like these are the like categories with levels. So with different levels. But so for example, uh, good,
It's 4 o'clock.
bad, worse, or worst. So good and bad, the range of good and bad is not equal to bad and worse. So there the range is not the same in ordinal level of data. So category with order. So in numerical data that we have in this RSCL, we asked the care seekers what is the severity of your condition, and they said it is mild, moderate, or severe. So it may vary from individual care seeker to the other. Care seeker is nothing but the patient that I am just talking about, and they mentioned the order of they just try to make whatever they understand about mild, moderate, and severe they have mentioned, but there is no specific range or the same range between mild to moderate or severe to moderate. So this is how the ordinal data is used, or this is what ordinal data is. Also, we can take an hypothetical understanding also to understand the range that I am trying to make you understand. Uh, okay, so this is the ordinal. Now interval data. So interval data is equal distance with no true zero. So in this study, I didn't have any interval data that could be presented. So hypothetically, I just tried to mention here emotional temperature scale before chemotherapy. So the care seekers used to have chemotherapy with on specific dates, and emotional temperature scale could have been measured if we would have measured the emotional temperature scale before chemotherapy. It could be like in the range of 0, 5, 10 in positive side of the scale, and 0, -5, -10 in the negative side of the scale. So here equal spacing is there, but 0 is not absence. 0 means there is no, if the temperature is 0, that doesn't mean that there is no value. The temperature 0 means the score is neutral. The score is not without emotional or temperature less. The temperature, it gives the values but not signifies that it has nothing. So 0 means the value but not the 0 means the state of the quality that it has, or we can say state at which it is present, but not there is no state at all. So just try to understand in a very easy manner. Let me give you another way of understanding. So the 0 means neutral state, but it doesn't mean that it has nothing. So that is what it actually means. For example, uh, 0 we generally take in terms of like nothing is there. But here 0 means that there is something, but it is at a state of 0 level. So the entity, the variable is there, but the state is, the value of that state is 0, but it is there. So that is very much important to understand in interval level. And classical example is Celsius temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. So 0 degrees Celsius doesn't mean that there is no temperature. 0 degrees Celsius means the temperature is there, but it is at the zero level. I hope it makes some sense. And the another data that is very much important is ratio level. Equal distance with true zero. And here is true zero means the value is zero. It means nothing. For example, we have the variables like age, number of patients, dosha percentage or chemotherapy cycles. So age 0 means no age. So there is no age. Number of patients, if 0 means like no patients. Similarly, dosha percentage, 0% means the measured proportion is completely 0. So there is nothing at there. And if somebody has not taken any chemotherapy cycles or 0 chemotherapy cycles, that means there is nothing, no cycle has been taken. Okay. So questionnaire scores such as the questionnaire that I used as numerical scale scores analyze carefully and check assumptions. So when we do the data, when we did the study, the table that we formed, the questionnaire that we used have the numerical scale scores, and there we can again you can go back to that paper and can have those analysis with these ratio level how they are being used. So you can do that later. Now another thing that we went and understood was the discrete and continuous, where continuous belongs. So in the quantitative data, when we have another variations, so there are types of data which is called discrete and continuous. And discrete is countable whole numbers and continuous is measured values with decimal possible. So number of patients, number of male, female, number of each Prakriti group, number of chemotherapy cycles, they are supposed to be whole numbers. They can't be, the patient can't be 1.56. The patient has to be 1, 2, 3 in whole numbers. Similarly, continuous qualitative data means the value will have some decimal possible. With age, age can also be categorized into discrete, but age can be 3 years, 4 months. So like that it can be there. The weight can also be in a continuous form. The scores that we have seen and dosha percentage that can also be in continuous format. So here in this study, classifying variables from this paper, this is the core reference of the whole lecture actually that we are going to understand. So variables from this study was the gender, the sex, the cancer type. This gender is the qualitative data, and which level? It is the nominal data. And the cancer type is the qualitative again, nominal form of data. Then the mild, moderate, severe symptoms that were being there in the questionnaires, that is definitely the qualitative data. It is called ordinal because it has the orders. Age, quantitative data, it can be ratio and continuous form. Number of patients, quantitative again, ratio and discrete form. And the RS scores, quantitative, it is scale or it is and continuous form. And dosha percentage, quantitative, it is ratio and continuous form. So one data set can contain many data types at the same time. So this is not like one data will have only one type of form, but it can have multiple types or levels. So here we have nominal data. So data, we have a nominal, ordinal, continuous and continuous data. So again we are here to summarize what we have done earlier. So nominal data will include the frequency and percentage, and the ordinal data will have median, category, percentage, and continuous data the mean or standard deviation will be there. and the continuous non-normal is a median and IQR. So coming back again to the data types that we discussed till now, and what kind of graph are needed to be plotted. So a good graph can be plotted if we know what kind of data it is. So for a nominal data, the pie chart or the bar chart is generally used. For the ordinal data, the bar chart is generally being used. The continuous data, continuous of the normal, the histogram, the age distribution, for example, is being used, and continuous with non-normal, that the box plot data are being used. And the data type decides the statistical test that we go. And this important one, and I just give us very brief about it. We will discuss more in the upcoming sessions that I will take. I will just give you the idea what is being written here. So how many patients, the research question if it is, how many patients in each Prakriti group. So the idea we get the data is a nominal only. So for this kind of, we can easily plot a frequency or percentage. Is Prakriti associated with symptom severity, nominal or ordinal? So we use the chi-square test in such conditions for the nominal and ordinal data type. And for the nominal and continuous not normal, we have the Kursal-Wallis test. So these tests are specifically needed to be understood separately, but just to give you an idea that what kind of tests are also there for different kind of data. So for example, is Vata percent related to RSCL total score? So the data, the variables we will get, the variables will be continuous plus non-continuous. So we will have the Spearman correlation approach will be there. So there is a very good statement I got from this AI that never start with which test, start with what type of variables we have. The moment we know what type of variables we have, we are able to approach properly with suitable test that is required. So here is the example. So Vata dominant group appear higher in physical impairment, but appearance is not only that is need to be understood. So this graph shows a pattern and it gives another idea that statistics actually gives it in a broader perspective. So the idea here, it gets the Vata dominant group appears in higher in physical impairment, but we understood with this study that we need a longitudinal study, and more if we get more care seekers in this type of population, more subjects will get a better idea of the physical impairment score. So this was not significant, but here with this study it was understood the Vata dominant group appear higher in physical impairment. So this we will discuss sometimes later. And here, here is an activity for you. Just you can wait here for a minute and just understand or which variable are nominal. Just think which variable is ordinal, which variables are quantitative, which graph would you use for Prakriti, which test compares RSCL questionnaire scores across Prakriti groups. So you can have this activity for yourself. You can pause the video and just give yourself time to do this activity, and once you're done, here are the answers. So hope this basic idea of data was clear, and we always need to understand before asking and while dealing with the data what or any study, what is the p-value. We should ask what type of data I am dealing with. The moment you will ask what type of data I'm dealing with, you will get a correct answer or you'll get to the right direction. So that's all, I think. So this is the paper I showed you in the beginning, that is the main source. And if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, or if you want to give suggestions, add something to this uh, concept of data, please feel free to add. I would be very much happy to have those understandings, those suggestions, those uh, extra information that which I could not include in this simple lecture, you can say, just an idea about the data that we deal in day-to-day life. So thank you so much. Namaste and pranam.